Hello and welcome to this next episode of What's Good Mzansi with me, your host, Jared Petzer. Today we are joined by none other than Gavin Sharples. Gavin Sharples is a motivational speaker. He's one of the busiest motivational speakers in the country. And if you follow him on Facebook, all you got to do is look out for his shoe, his famous rainbow shoes. Gavin, how are you going?
I'm lucky and you, man.
Yeah, I can't complain. Thanks. Can't complain. How's lockdown? Keeping yourself busy?
Yeah, hey man, I'm married. So I've got to wake up in the morning. I got a list. The wife gives you a full list and says, right, you will be doing this. I'm not even kidding. I have worked so hard. I'm going to show you my finger. This finger over here, I'm going to be careful which finger I show you. This finger over here was totally black. That was from the pond. The thumb over there, that was from the roof. I kid you not, every day I get a list. And we're working through the list. So some days my mates are saying to me, Gav, why aren't you making videos? I say, buddy, I'm so busy. Lockdown for me. I tell you what, I'm going to lose 1,000 pounds and we're going to sell this house for double the price because we're just fixing it every day.
Oh, lekker. That's fantastic, man. I think it's so important, though, to be busy and keep yourself occupied during this time, right? I think if you're going to be sitting stuck with your head stuck in a screen all day long like I am, actually, it can't be too good for the mental psyche.
Yeah, but yes and no. I mean, obviously you've got to do some physical stuff, but I mean, thank goodness for the internet. I mean, these parents have been moaning at kids the whole time about stop keeping your face on the phone, that type of thing. And every single parent is, and thank goodness we've got this. Because if we didn't, I promise you, we would actually go mad. You can disappear for hours and just watch the antics of what people get up to. So for once, I think parents, all the students are turning around and saying to their moms and dads, listen, I'm lying on the couch doing nothing and I'm on the internet and basically I'm saving the world. So that's cool things.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I read a couple of articles this morning on the increase in the demand on bandwidth globally. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, companies are just not able to keep up anymore, and we're seeing Netflix is surging. Obviously, Zoom is surging. We're seeing online radio stations are absolutely surging. They're doing incredibly well. So I think this is probably going to. I wonder if it's going to subside or if it's going to remain like this, because I think people are getting so used to it now. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I think as well, and I think maybe to start off, I also want to, I mean, I'm also known as a bit of a humorist, and I try and find the fun side to things, and I try and give a positive spin on things. But I think, and one of the videos I did send out, I think there's a balance that has to be drawn here, and sometimes I must admit, and I've got to be honest, I always wear my heart on my sleeve, and it's pretty tough sometimes when you're looking at these numbers, when you're looking at the amount of people who are literally dying every single day. And I know that it's just a number on a screen, you know what I mean? This country's got 3,000, this 242, 3,000. At the end of the day, those people died and they have got family members. So I do understand that we can't harp and only be negative all the time. On the other hand, I don't think we can make light of it. And I think of the balance, that balance that we've got to find down the middle where we can, I suppose, have fun at our circumstances and the circumstances we find ourselves in. But I think on the other hand, we've really got to be careful that it's a sensitive issue and that people literally every single day are losing loved ones and people are losing their businesses and people are worrying about their jobs. And that. So at the end of the day, we've got to find that balance where we can have fun. We can, as South Africans, we love to do this. We love to laugh and we love to poke fun. But I think the balance has got to be there. And some guys, I know, some people are making money now. Some people are literally coining it because it's almost like their time has come. But at the end of the day, I think we've really got to, it's that fine line between what is fun and to keep the positive going and keep doing the stuff that we need to do. But on the other hand, we've got to be extremely sensitive because a lot of people are suffering now, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. I think that's the big thing. So if we can find that balance and get ourselves through, I think everything else is going to work out.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, we've got this. Human beings are strange because on a piece of paper, you'll look at statistics and statistics tell a story, but they don't tell the full story. And I think if you say, cool, so only 10,000 people have died globally. That's 10,000 moms, dads, brothers, sisters, boyfriends, lovers. That's a person. Like if you had to say, I've got a family of 10 and one of my family died, it's not so bad, 1 out of 10. It doesn't work that way. I mean, the bottom line is that there's emotions attached to it. There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of suffering that's attached to it. And you're 100% right. We do need to be cognizant of people's plights and the struggles that they're going through.
But remembering that a lot of people like the Zoom, like you. I mean, look at you. How have you exploded? I mean, you open, you know that there are some people who try and run their businesses and try and get the amount of airtime and FaceTime and that type of thing. 20, 30 years people have been trying to build their business. You, hashtag I'm staying. Next second, you're a flipping global international superstar with your cap on backwards. And I'm going, who is this freaking out? And now, all of a sudden, because you've got dedicated eyes, now you've taken those hashtags. And do you understand? Is it going to stay this way? Are we going to, I don't know. If you know anything about human nature, it's the same thing. Somebody dies of cancer. And all of a sudden, someone says, yo, but he smoked 15 packs a day. And everyone in the family says, we're going to stop smoking. And that lasts for about a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they smoke again. I'm going to eat healthy. And that goes for a couple of months. So I think there's going to be a balance again. A lot of people are going to use this time and actually springboard themselves. The other guys are just going to, for a short while, they're going to do their distancing. They're going to do their healthy eating. They'll go to gym for a month, and then they'll fall back into their normal ways. So I think, again, the balance is there. And some people who are going to run with it will run with it. And some people are just going to go back to their old ways.
You know, I was thinking about this. I mean, I don't know how I would feel walking into a gym now. I mean, walking into a gym and knowing that some other sweaty person has been on that machine. I wonder how it's going to affect us in terms of, from that standpoint, as going forward, once we come out the other side of this. Are people really ever going to be the same again when it comes to like looking at viruses and the spreading of germs and etc.? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more fist fights, because I think a lot of more people are going to turn around. They see someone training without a towel. You're going to become the worst oak in the gym if you don't pack your weights today and sanitize. I'm telling you, there's going to be more fights in gyms than ever before while this thing goes. But again, it does make people aware. I used to travel. I travel a lot. So I used to always get on a plane and I said, I've got a bandana. And even in the normal times, I would just get on a plane and put my bandana over because I always catch the flu. Every year, because I travel in those confined spaces, I catch the flu. So I started just wearing, you must see how people looked at you. They look at you as if you're some kind of a weird person. And now it's the norm. Isn't that amazing how things change?
Yeah,
so yes, I think gyms are going to be funny. Flying in planes is going to be funny. Just, I mean, taxis. Can you imagine the taxis? I think it's a game changer, but whether it sustains or not, I don't think so. I think people are just going to go back to their normal ways as soon as they're allowed to.
Yeah. You're possibly right. You're possibly right. But yeah, I think it's quite funny. You know, if you're not wearing a mask now, people are looking at you funny. You know, it's completely.
It's true. It's true.
Gav, tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get involved in motivational speaking? I mean, what sort of led you down this path?
No, it was a mistake. It was an absolute mistake. Many years ago, there was a small company, you might have heard of them, called Vodacom.
Oh yeah.
I ordered a cell phone, and they said I would have my phone in about 10 days. When phones were first launched, back in 94, 95. And I went in there, and they said 10 days, you get your phone. So 2 weeks later, I didn't get my phone. I was going to wait for business cards to be printed, and they were stuffing me around. So I went to the service provider. Back in those days, it was a company called Transtel Cellular. And I said to him, my buddy, what kind of customer service is this? And the MD happened to be in the reception. And he said to me, yeah, but what do you know so much about customer service? It sounds like you're a specialist. And I said, no, I've just run a couple of businesses and I understand. He says, can you teach? Now, the entrepreneur in the brain turned around and said, this is an opportunity. And the one on the left turned around and said, what is he talking about? But my brain just said, yes. So he said, okay, put together a proposal to come speak to my people. I said, sweet, I'm your man. I went home and I thought, what the hell's a proposal? I heard of a quote, but I didn't know this word proposal. I'm from the South. This is like big words. Anyway, and then I thought, okay, what I'll do is let me phone a whole bunch of training companies and ask them for a proposal. So I phoned them up and they asked me some stupid questions like, how many people, how long is the training? What is the level of the people? And I thought, good questions. I phoned the client back. How many people? What is this? And I got all that, and then I gave it back, and 4 or 5 companies sent me a quote. I took the average, I just put it just below average, and I took it in and I gave them a quote. And what happened? Nothing. The woman that was in charge of training there called me in the office and said, listen, I'm going to try and push this through, but I'm actually leaving. I'm going to be at Vodacom from now on. So good luck with this, but I'll try and push it through. I didn't hear from them again. About 2 months later, doesn't she phone me? She's a British chick. She says to me, you're the only guy I know in South Africa in training. I said, yeah. She says, we need to start a thing called the Vodacom Academy. So would you pop in and let's see what we can do? So together we started a thing called the Vodacom Academy. We launched it and brought a whole bunch of other speakers in. And I just snowballed from there. People heard what I was doing because I was doing full day GSM training for Vodacom. And for an hour in the day, what I would do is I would just slot in what we call a soft skill in those days. Now they're called essential skills, you know, like dealing with people, not mudding each other in the workplace, that type of stuff, handling change. So in the old days, when the intellectuals, you know, ran the companies, they used to call it soft skills. So what I did was I just dropped an hour into all the technical training because I would literally speak to engineers. They would explain to me the way a network works, and I would then put it into easy speak and go around the country. And people started coming just for that hour. And then eventually somebody phoned me up, an agent, that just said, you know, you do full day trainings. Do you do keynotes? And I said, what the hell's a keynote? She says, no, you speak for an hour. I said, buddy, I'm on my feet 8 hours a day. And they're paying me, I think back in those days, it was something like $2,000 a day. I said, what are you going to give me for an hour? $200. She said, no, I'll give you $5,000. And I said, for an hour? I said, shit, I can do an hour. So what I started doing is then I started doing 1 hour keynotes, and I realized that this is actually a job that people make a living from keynoting. And it just snowballed, and another agent phoned and another agent phoned and companies. And that was 25 years ago. So I wish I could tell you that I woke up one day and I had this dream and this goal. I didn't even know it was a possibility to earn money talking up to people. So that's what I do.
Listen, I mean, that's phenomenal, because I mean, our stories are not too dissimilar in terms of the fact that it was quite coincidental. It wasn't anything intentional. I mean, one day I basically put up this Facebook group, and the next thing it bloody turned into this national thing, a national brand. And it really was accidental. And I think sometimes the most amazing things happen by accident. You know, sometimes you get set on this path by accident. But the thing is, Gavin, that it gives you purpose. I think there's a lot of purpose that comes from stuff like this, because really all day long you're talking to people's hearts and their minds, and, you know, their emotions and their feelings, right?
Yeah, well, there's two things as well. First of all, this didn't just happen for you. Okay, let's clear something up here. Here's the thing, and here's the key. I tell you, here's the key between what happened to me and what happened to you. And you're right, they're similar. The difference is you had an idea. The idea is hashtag I'm staying, and you had the idea, but you did something that most people don't. You actually went ahead and you did it. You created that hashtag, didn't you?
That's right. I did. I created the hashtag, yeah.
But because you created it, and because you took the action, and because you did it, I mean, when that person in that foyer, in that's MD, if he looked at me and said, "Are you in training?" and I looked at it, I thought, well, yeah, I am, whatever, and they never followed through. I mean, right up to the first presentation that I did for them, where I literally did not sleep, and I literally threw up 3 times throughout that night. And in the morning of the first presentation, they gave me the wrong address, so I got there late, and I promise you, I was just going to phone this chick up and say, I'm out. But part of my brain said, you can't, because that's just not the way I'm made. So we took the action. So you took the action. I took that action back in the day. And you know what? 90% of these things will probably fall flat. But if you keep pushing and keep trying, one of them will stick. And you're stuck. And well, all the power to you, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how something small can turn. And I think what happens is you start to become inspired, and we've got so much, we've got such a massive pool of reference to look at, to draw inspiration from. And I think that's where we're very lucky. Very often, I think companies or businesses will get to a point and they lose inspiration. They sort of forget their way, and they sort of forget their purpose and why they started, and it becomes quite difficult. Luckily enough, when you're dealing with so many different people, and you've got different opinions, and you've got all these different things that are happening around you, these hot topical issues that are happening around you, it becomes quite easy to become creative, I think.
Yeah, I think as well, it's also tough. I mean, you've probably found that now, is that you're the Mr. I'm staying positive, we love South Africa guy. And some mornings you just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Some mornings you wake up and you go, I'm just not into this type of thing today. But you know what? Because you're that brand, because you're that person, you have to try and do that all the time. And I think that's the tough part. And another thing is that you're right. A lot of companies do lose their way, because let's face it, sales managers are dealing with spreadsheets, reporting to their bosses, their managers. They're dealing with products and returns and sourcing. And inspiring people is not their core business. That's hence where we come in. And I mean, you've probably had a whole bunch of guys on already. I know you phoned me for some names. But the guys in my profession are needed because that's our core business.
Yeah.
So when the sales manager will spend, I don't know, you'll go on an MBA on marketing and sales and reporting structures and stuff. We'll sit with a library full of books on performance, on mind, on how to take people from one level to another level. That's our speciality. And that's the reason why there is a conferencing industry and there is a speaking industry, because they do lose their way. And I think that's the important thing. Our industry now, as you probably know, is dead. I mean, you could go to any venue now and you'll be able to have your pick of the rooms and the car parks, because nobody, and that's our business. So the entire, and it's a big business. It's a huge industry. Speaking, the rooms, the venues, that is all gone. It's all gone. And I don't know how long it's going to take to come back. So at the end of the day, our business is really, our business has died. There's not even and to get back into it now might take a while as well, because I don't think lockdown ends, they're going to run a conference. I think they're going to wait a little bit. So our industry has taken a knock, but it is going to come back. We're people. We love, why do you think people don't want to be sitting in a room by themselves or in a house they can't wait to get out. Even when people irritate them, the fact that they are out. And they can sit next to somebody at the rugby or at the bar, or know that there's somebody in the restaurant. So I think our natural instinct is to keep on going out, but we really are taking a knock now for those people who can't be alone.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few guys, and everybody's battling and struggling. Some are getting quite creative in terms of what they're, using tools like Zoom and stuff to still have these motivational discussions. But I got to tell you, I think that when we come out of this thing on the other side, we're going to need a lot of motivation. We're going to need a lot, because guys have lost their way, they've lost their businesses, they've lost their revenue, they've lost their rentals, they've lost. And I think the people's mindsets are going to have to be reset after this as well. And we're going to have to work quite hard to get things going again. And it's very, very interesting times. I think very challenging times ahead. I had a discussion with a friend of mine this morning, just talking about the level of impact with regards to our economy, because I think now we're sitting in a situation where you've got the health aspect to consider with Corona, and you've also got the economy to consider. Do we continue on this lockdown? Do we extend it like other countries are doing? Can our economy take that? Are we gonna sort of take a couple of risks and get our economy sort of going? I think it's a very challenging time for us definitely as from a global aspect, but from South Africa, we need help, and we need guys like you to help us get our heads back on track when things get back to normal.
And that's why I think as well, you're right, there's balance. That balance we have to find is that there are some people that's easy. That's why, again, in the beginning, you called me a motivational speaker, and I made a face, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't. There's something that people don't really get. It's almost impossible to motivate another human being. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
You can't motivate anybody else. What you can do is you might be able to inspire them. You see, motivation comes from the word motive and action.
Yeah.
It's your reason for doing something. So motivation, motive, action, your reason. Now, until you let me tap into your motives for actually living, I can't actually motivate you. What I can do is inspire you. I can actually tell you my story or somebody else's story, somebody's story that's familiar to yours, and say, well, this is how they handled it and this is what they did with it. That's why, these guys who stand up and they call themselves motivational speakers, and they're looking at cameras going, you'll get through this. And William Clement Stone said, it's that your attitude will determine your altitude. And you just look at these people and you go, my good, you're talking to an oak that's just lost his business.
Yeah.
You're talking to a guy who cannot afford to pay his bond. Yeah. There are people who have been living on overdrafts, check to check. And yes, they've got great jobs, but they've been living paycheck to paycheck with nothing in the reserve because they've got school fees and all sorts of stuff. And you coming on a camera and going, hey, it's nothing, we'll get through this, motivate yourself. I'm again, my bad. Be sensitive. Be sensitive to the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are hurting, and start giving more practical stuff that you can do for people. You know what I mean? As opposed to this rah nonsense. Tell people, I understand. And if you don't, by the way, if you don't understand what people are going through, shut your mouth. I mean, the fact that you've got a camera and you've got Zoom, you've got to have something to say. Otherwise, all you do is making a noise and probably create more damage. Yep. So that's why I'm stuck in this middle. That's why you'd see me. I try and put out a post once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Yep. And I'm very careful of what I say, because it's not, we can't use rhetoric now. We can't stand up and do this general motivation crap. We have to start finding solutions. And that's the site I want, is to start saying, what are the practical solutions? Some woman the other day said that if you buy anything on credit, there's a clause that could help you pay off that debt because there's an insurance built into every credit thing. And I'm looking at that woman going, now that is practical, cool information that's going to help people get through this. That's what I'm more of that than the rah-rah. I'm more of a, here are the facts, here's the truth. Can we laugh at it? And if we do, we got to just be careful.
100%. If you've just joined us, we're talking to Gavin Sharples. This is a fascinating conversation, Gavin. I'm really enjoying it. I think you're 100% correct. We need to look at things realistically, holistically, but it's also important how we enter into things from a mental a mental state. Because if you're living in this, if you've had a bad experience and you're living in that experience in your mind and in your heart, it's going to be very difficult for you to sort of persevere into a place of being constructive if you don't have the right mindset. The mindset is everything. Things are not going well. Things are buggered. But listen, we have to push forward. And I think that's the mindset we need to have. We have to push forward. And what can we do? And that's what I loved about what you were saying now. It's practical solutions to help us achieve a practical goal.
And that's another thing. Stop. You know, it's like somebody has a panic attack. Apparently, the worst thing you can tell somebody who's having a panic attack is calm down. You know, it's like
you don't have to be having a panic attack for that one to irritate you. Anybody, I hate that. Just relax.
Yeah. And the more someone's telling you to relax, the more you're going, stop telling me to relax, my boy. And that's the thing. So we can't, you know, people who worry, and I'm by the way, I'm a warrior. Okay, I'm not like a warrior. I'm a warrior. And if you are a warrior and you do worry, how do you switch your brain off? So you go to bed at night and you can't sleep because you're concerned about the bond, about the business, about how, honestly, if you go to Pick and Pay right now, yes, the doors might be open, but you're looking at your account going, I've only got 2 or 3 Pick and Pays to go to before my family. And now you look, and so you're worrying, and people look at them and go, yeah, but you mustn't worry. Stop worrying. Hey? And I go, my Buddhavos. If you had the ability to switch off your brain at any time, can you imagine the power that is? So yes, what you've got to say to people is your worrying is justified. You do need to worry. You do need to, but here's the thing. It's not what happens. It's what can we do about it? What are you doing right now to put things in place? If you know you've only got, because I mean, let's face it, they're going to extend this thing. So what are you doing right now instead of worrying about it? What are you doing now to phone people, contact the banks, trying to find a way that you can extend and just go to another 3-4 months? That, and by the way, the busier you are, the less you worry, because I think it was Mark Twain who said the problem with being bored is having the time to sit around and think about it. Get yourself busy, and the more, and you know, when you go to bed at night and you know that you've made 15 phone calls today, and every phone call was an attempt to make sure that you'll be okay, your family will be okay. If you do that every single day, and every day, I mean, you just get up and you go, I've got to phone everybody I know. I've got to ask for credit relaxations. I've got to do that every single day. When you go to bed at night, I promise you're going to sleep a little bit better. That for me is practical, as opposed to these oaks who come on, don't worry, my put, it'll all be okay, eh? There's a way. It's God's will. I love that one as well, but that's a different conversation.
Absolutely. Gavin, one of the videos that you did some time ago really popped out for me. I think you were at some traffic licensing department, and there was a guy there that was. I'll tell you why I bring this up, because it also brings us back to this discussion of balance and also respect. You know, respecting one another. And I think we're living in a time where a lot of respect has been lost for people. We're very quick to sort of disrespect people who we don't think share our experiences. They don't think share our views. They don't share our way of living. And I mean, that video that you did went viral. I mean, just to put everyone in the picture, it was a guy that was standing behind the counter, and he was quite standoffish with a young man. And Gavin actually stood up and he said something about it. And this video went viral. Gavin, I mean, what compelled you to actually get involved there and to say something?
Yeah, I think that's my problem. My problem is, I think it's Ricky Gervais. He's got a saying that he always does. He says, I should have left it. And then he pauses and he says, but I didn't. I'm just one of those people. Even through my background, I was before, in another life, I was actually a cop. And I became a cop because I have this thing that I need to help people. That's just my thing. And sometimes it's to my detriment. And we were sitting at a, let me not use the name. We were sitting at a top restaurant, and there was a hijacking on the corner, and we just heard the gunshots, and everybody literally either went under the tables or they ran into shops next to them. I said to my wife, run into that shop, and guess what I did? 30 seconds later, I'm running through the car park towards the shooting, and halfway there, I'm going, what am I doing? Because it's not my job anymore. So some people will actually move to it, and other people will move away from it. So I'm sitting in this licensing department, And this guy behind the counter is this young white guy who's obviously getting a license or trying to get a license. And this guy just started laying into him with the most racist comments that I've ever. And I saw this kid it was almost like he was being beaten up. My instinct is just to get up and go, hey, you know, I don't care who it is. If somebody's beating on somebody else, verbally, emotionally, spirit, I am there saying, hey, I can't, on my watch, just let that go. Because that's what real men do. Real men step up and we step forward. I didn't think about it, but I also didn't know. My wife started recording the whole incident. Obviously, maybe thinking I was going to be knocked out or something and she needed evidence. So I just confronted the guy and I said to him, what is the story? And he laid into me. And then then it turned into a manager thing. And listen, I've got to say this. The Ekurhuleni Council, the managers and the mayor of Ekurhuleni, to their credit, whether it went viral or because there was a video, they fired the guy immediately. Wow. They basically fired the guy, and I got assurances. In fact, the only people that really took a practical and immediate action, and apparently it went right up to the mayor, where they looked at the video, they gave him, I think, 24 hours to give him written reply why they shouldn't dismiss him, and they dismissed him. In fact, I was called to the CCMA just before the lockdown to actually testify on behalf of the Ekurhuleni Council. And again, there were 9 witnesses at the event who all gave me their names and details and said, we will be there. How many people do you think pitched for the hearing? Just me. I was the only person, and the guy who's the investigating officer who investigates things like this turned around and said, this is our biggest problem. People will complain until complaining is one thing, putting something on paper, but then when you see it through, they are scared. But listen, they're scared for a reason. This investigating officer who only investigates internal stuff where council members have been involved in shenanigans. This guy has been shot twice.
What?
He's been, I'm standing there waiting for the hearing, and I said to him, I see you carrying. He says, yeah. He says, not only do I carry, I don't go out. I change my routes every day. He says, then he pulls up his leg and he shows me where the bullet went in. He pulls up his sleeve and shows me, and I'm saying, are you kidding me? He says, this is the job that we're in. That's why a lot of people are afraid. He says, so it's very rare to find people, when we call them, they actually come because of intimidation. Not that they're going to do that, but there's intimidation. But at the end of the day, somebody has to stand up. In fact, even the young guy who was being bullied and racist, him and his mother turned around and said, no, we don't want to get involved, purely out of fear. So obviously, I'm glad it went viral. I'm glad they took action. But again, it wasn't my intention to do this. It was my intention just in that moment to protect the people that he was attacking, basically.
I think you touched on something really important there. I had a conversation with Muslim Yamani a couple of days ago, and he was talking about the fact that if you hear a woman's scream coming from your neighbor's place, get involved. If you see somebody that needs help, get involved. Do not be led by your fear. And we become very complacent as South Africans. We're constantly moaning and complaining and pointing fingers and screaming and shouting and clicking of our tongues and whatever the case may be. But very seldom is anybody actually willing to stand up, and stick their neck out. And I think unless we are prepared to do that, unless we are prepared to actually stand up and say, no, this is not okay. This is not how you talk to another human being. This is not how you treat each other. This is not acceptable. Until we learn to do that. And I understand that we're living in a state of PTSD. I mean, in fact, people that leave South Africa and go overseas, they get treated for post-traumatic stress syndrome because we live in an incredible, tenable situation, and it can be quite violent at times, whatever the case is. But we are guaranteed to go nowhere if no one stands up. And sometimes casualties of war are just a thing. I mean, but you've got to go forward, and you've got to raise your voice, be heard, be seen, and unify. That's the only way.
That's why I always applaud. And I never names drop, because I meet so many people, and I'm not the oak to drop names, but there was a guy who, please, they must forgive me, I don't know the guy's name. He was an Indian guy who fought to get antiretrovirals given by the government. Remember when Thabo Mbeki and them were saying that AIDS and HIV, they're not linked, and also that he was the guy who actually took the government to court to get the antiretrovirals out. And do you understand, a guy like that is a hero. A guy like that who stands up and says, not on my watch. We have got people who are literally dying, and we have not a cure, but we have thing that can, in some cases, actually sustain their life and keep them going, and they're not giving it. And you have one person who stands up and turns around and goes, not on my watch. And you know what? A lot of people think, well, I can't do stuff like that because I'm just one person and I'm not going to change the country. And that's, again, people talk a lot of, my favorite word, by the way, is cuck. A lot of people talk a lot of cuck, and they turn around and say, you can change the world. And people say, well, if I can't change the world, I better not try. What people don't get is, you may not change the world, but you can change your world and the world of people around you. So if that means get involved with the block watch, if that means maybe contributing, paying for something, going to a meeting, it doesn't matter that a lot of people do because of movies and media. If I can't start a hashtag I'm staying, we can get 1 million followers, why am I going to try? Because you know what, my friend? Maybe you'll have 30, but maybe those 30 people will contribute at that morning business breakfast, and you'll be able to send one kid to university who couldn't afford it. Now, are you going to be famous? Are they going to put cameras on you? Are they going to turn around and say, I want you on my podcast? No, maybe not. But that's not why you did it in the first place.
Yeah,
you did it because every little stone that you throw in makes a difference. But the question is, are you sitting back and waiting, or are you actually doing something about it? I think that is the key. It's that action word again, which I speak hours on.
Yeah, listen, that's powerful. And I mean, there's that saying, you know, if you've changed one person's life in your existence, you've lived a full life. And I think that's really what it is. You know, it's not about volume. It's not about scale. It's about what can I do in my immediate environment? What can I do to affect somebody's life? How can I change the direction that I'm going in? Just within this immediate environment. If you can do that, you've achieved so much in your life. You know, we as human beings, and imagine everybody, that 58 million people had that mentality. Imagine where we'd be. You know, if 58 million people thought like that. And thought about serving the needs of somebody else, because that's really what it comes down to, is serving somebody, you know, serving somebody in the smallest way, wherever that may be.
And the craziest thing is, the more you serve others, you're actually only serving yourself, because at the end of the day, whatever you make better is going to go around, because what goes around comes around. It makes, you know what I mean? If you can only spout negativity and call people, that's what I love. You know, you watch the social media things and you watch the guys responding to people. And I say, well, if you have nothing positive or constructive to say based on fact, just be quiet. But a lot of people want to make a difference. And they think, by me attacking this person, I'm not really informed, but by me attacking and trying to stand up for something, but they don't know what they're talking about. At the end of the day, I don't care who you are. If you want to start a little group of 4 people at the end of your road, forget 4 people. If you just want to be that one guy who wakes up every single morning and goes and gives something or pays something or gets involved in something, I don't care. And the problem is in our world is media. A lot of people want to be famed. They want to get the recognition. And again, recognition is not bad. It's one of the core needs of a human being. One of the core needs we need is we need to be recognized for what we do. But we don't need to be recognized on the global scale. If you can just make sure hey man, become a domestic soccer coach on a Saturday morning. Just every Saturday morning, you pick up your stuff, you go down, you get a couple of kids, and you just show them sportsmanship. Little things like that can literally change a kid's life. And then that has a snowballing effect. But more importantly, it makes you feel like you're contributing and doing something. Little things add up to big things.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's this youngster. Well, not youngster. He's in his mid to late 20s, I would say.
He's a youngster.
Yeah. But listen, what an amazing dude. His name's Sindisa. He sits in the UK, and he's got a friend, Dumasani, who sits here in Khayelitsha. Now, between the two, one sitting in the UK, one sitting in Khayelitsha, they've managed to rally this group of girls together, girls that have been quite severely affected by crime and all sorts of terrible things in Khayelitsha. They've formed a soccer club, and they've given these girls this amazing purpose. And Sindisa every now and again will fly in from the UK and come and spend time with them. And the message that he gives them is, you are beautiful, you are strong, you are capable. And that's what he does. But it's so amazing. From the UK, he's able to affect people's lives over here. You know, bear in mind that he's got somebody to help him. But this is their purpose. Their entire purpose is about giving to these young girls that otherwise would never have known that there was people out there that were willing to help them. And they would never have known that they could come together, that they weren't the only ones suffering. You know, everyone suffers in their own isolation and in their own silence. But all of a sudden, you've got this group of people that have come together, and you've got these 2 men that have come in to help them. And these guys are actually, I mean, they're going into playoffs, so they're going to take these young girls to Switzerland. I mean, how amazing is that? How amazing is something like that? You know, what a beautiful way to spend your life.
And the thing is, I think this country is full of stories like that.
Many.
And as everybody knows, that is not reported in the news.
Yeah.
Because there's that part of the brain, it's a whole psychological thing, why people actually continuously watch the news, because a part of their brain actually enjoys the suffering of others. I think it's called Schadenfreude, it's a German word for it, is where we actually look. And that's why I say to people, I've said it for the last 25 years, stop listening to the news.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day, yes, you need to keep up to date once a week, what's happening, whatever. And if anything major is going to happen, you'll find out about it. But I mean, I know of people literally sitting with the television news on now, in lockdown, 24 hours a day. All they're getting is how many people died, how bad. And then, of course, everybody wants to get on TV. And they're all saying, I mean, somebody turned around and just yesterday in one of the major newspapers, somebody read it to me, said, you think this is true? And I'm going, the lockdown is now going to last for the next another 4 months. I'm looking at the guy, but where does that information come from? And more importantly, how do people put that stuff out there? Because there are people on the edge and they hear stuff like this, and just stop doing that. If you can't say something positive, if you can't do something positive, just shut up. At least you can do. Stop listening to the news. Make sure you're updated. Make sure once a week, twice, or whatever it is, you'll know. On social media, if there's a massive change, trust me, your phone will go absolutely mad. At the end of the day, sit in isolation and start saying, what are the positive stuff I can do? And I know if you're married, okay, I'm not talking to married men now, okay? Married men, I'm not talking to, we're busy, but any married oak worth his salt is finding screwdrivers and spanners that he didn't even knew that he had. And he's gone to Google, and Google's showing him how to change plugs and pipes and hose pipes. And the house is probably going to end up worse for most people. But at the end of the day, what are you doing? That's what I'm saying. What are you flipping doing? 3 weeks in isolation, if you can't come out and say, this is what I fixed, this is what I wrote, these are the customers I've contacted, here's my new marketing campaign. If you can't do that after 3 weeks, then guess what? You're just not that oak. Then maybe you should just stay who you are, and that's cool as well, eh? There are those people. There are those people who just want to go through life and make no waves. They don't want to be motivated or inspired. That's cool. But don't be one of those guys and then start talking cuck about people who are actually out there in the game, making a difference. It's the same thing, sitting in a stadium. And you check the supporters. They've got a lot to say about how that oak passed the ball. They've got a lot to say. And I always look at them and say, is that your professional opinion from when you played for the Bulls? No, but I would sell that oak. Oh, is it? How many years have you coached, my bud? They just spew this nonsense out of their mouth all the time. And you just want to say, shut up. If you can't say something positive, more importantly, go do something, man. Just do something. And especially with social media and that type of thing. Now, here's the thing, eh? When last did you just actually find, I've got a thing that I do, one of the talks, is I try and get people to find their gift. What is their gift? Their gift is the one thing they do better than anybody else. Now, how do you find that gift? Simple. And I mean, social media, we can do this on social media. So, I mean, in your life right now, you probably, the top 20 people that you know, you send them a text and saying to them, I'm doing this little thing whilst I'm in isolation. Of all of the characteristics, what are my best 3? What are the things that when you hear my name, you really like about me? And you know what happens? After a while, you start seeing a pattern begin to form. And you'll start finding what we call your difference. That thing that you do better than anybody else. That one thing that actually takes you, when somebody thinks of your name, that's what they're thinking of. Now, once you find that, now build on that and start showing people more of that. Because in that way, you wake up every single day, you go to work by being yourself. Just be yourself and find those characteristics. Here's the problem. When you do that in a conferencing room, there's a whole bunch of people who cannot write down a positive thing about another human being. Now, that says more about the person than it does about the person they're trying to critique. And I always say to people, listen, if you get nothing positive from the group, the guy I'm picking on, if you get nothing positive from the group, it says more about the group than it does about you. Whenever I do a talk, I give out a feedback form. And the feedback form at the bottom, comments on the presentation. Those to me are the most fascinating because no matter what you do, you'll have 99% of people raving. You'll always get one person who found one thing and they'll just negative. And know what? That says more about the person who actually made that comment than it does about the presentation. Absolutely. Here's the kicker. When you say something positive about another human being, it says more about what's in you than the other person. Because if you say somebody's kind or cool or attention to detail, when you say that, what you've done is you've turned around and gone, I recognize it because it's in me.
Yeah.
So when you say somebody is kind, you must be kind. You must have kindness in you to be able to identify kindness. Yes. If you say somebody is beautiful or considerate, you must know considerate. So it says more about you than it does about the person.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's the key, is that we start reflecting who we really are in times like this. So that's why I'm saying, if you've got nothing positive to say, my bud.
Absolutely amazing. If you guys have just joined us, we're talking to Gavin Sharples. We've come to the end of our show right now, but you can catch this on the Facebook page. It's I'm Staying Media. Alternatively, you can see us on. You can also get us on the website www.imstaying.co.za. Gavin, thank you so much for spending time with us. I've really enjoyed this discussion. Hopefully, we can do this again during this period. If you got some time on your hands and.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit busy, eh? So I tell you what, rather schedule a time with my boss, my wife, and she'll be able to tell you. And by the way, you'll probably find I've been speaking a lot because I am a married man. We don't get to talk a lot either. So anyway, I can come out of isolation. I've no tool belt on, and I've been able to talk. It's been a blast for me.
Fantastic. Gavin, tell us, how do people get in touch with you if they want to book you, if they want to have a chat? I mean, how do they connect with you?
That's www.gavinsharples.co.za or info@gavinsharples, and my boss will sort everything out.
Fantastic, Gavin. Thanks very much. Chat to you soon.
Thanks, Ang, and keep up the good work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.